Back in the 1960s, early education for children from low-income families was part of a war on poverty. 50 years later, the learning advantage from the Head Start program has since become an educational standard. To tell us about the 50th anniversary of the program, run locally by ABCD, are its president and CEO, John Drew, and its vice president for Head Start and Children's Services, Yvette Rodriguez. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you.
I want to start with John Drew, because you and Yvette both have these personal stories about your beginning with Head Start. John, start with yours.
Well, as I tell people, I'm a proud Head Start parent. So back in the 60s, when I was disabled and didn't have a lot of prospects in life, I got a hand up, and I'm proud of that. Things we do today, like being sponsored to go to college when I probably had no right to go, with a background. But I tell people we were living in public housing. I was 28, and we had very little. But I would go out every day, and I see the playground full of broken bottles, wine bottles, whatever. And I had toddlers, and I couldn't think about how am I going to go do all these other things to try to get out of here, and they have no place to go. So I walked up the street, and one day I saw the center, and I went in, and there's always something called Head Start. I said, what is it? And I ended up enrolling my son, who was 4, and then my daughter eventually for over 3 years. And they had education and nutrition, and they went on trips. But I had something else in my wife. We had peace of mind, and my children were in a great setting, and that it allowed us to be able to go out and go about trying to get out of where we were, and we did. And also, we met as parents, and that was a new thing. And so I look back and I say, well, you know, I never really give that experience as much credit as I should have done in turning my life around. It was very, very pivotal. And obviously, I'm 43 years at ABCD and running Head Start. So obviously, I believe very strongly this program is actually 50 years has changed this country dramatically. But the thousands and millions of children have gone through all over the country, have done well, and I don't care what anybody says, this program has succeeded.
Yvette Rodriguez, you began with this program as one of the educators. What was that like?
And it's very interesting because when we talk about education, it's beyond the ABCDs and the basic skills. And Head Start has that since the beginning, and it was created on that. Because if child is not taking care of the whole body, mind, health, and learning is not going to happen. So Head Start is that model. It does provide a comprehensive education, and when we talk about that, it's the cognitive development, but it's also the health, the nutrition, the social, emotional, the disability, and also the working with the family, because families are the first and the foremost important teachers in the children's life. You just hear John saying that. So working with parents is another strong component in Head Start.
What about the importance of Head Start as a place where parents could get, let's say if they're immigrants or if they come from Puerto Rico, you know, English might not be their first language, maybe they need instructors at this very important part of their child's education to, you know, to be able to communicate with them.
And we are very careful and thoughtful all the time that we try to mirror our staff with the population that we serve. So pretty much our staff and percentage is similar to the percentage of the family. So we try and we thrive to make sure that we have representation of the languages. So we facilitate that transition and that communication in their native language. And part of our philosophy and protocol is to support the native language of the children as they are emerging in English.
John, what about the effectiveness of the program? Because the overriding message we keep hearing all these decades is that public schools are terrible. So, I mean, even if you have early education, does it really make that much difference? Does it wear down a little bit?
Not a generalization, that is, isn't it? Yeah. It's like saying, you know, charter schools are better than public schools. There are so many different avenues across the country for public schools. If you're in an affluent community versus not, we all know that that communities don't have the advantages, have public schools sometimes that shouldn't meet their standards. But Head Start in itself brings a child into the public school system. They are ready. We're detecting the hearing losses were not detected, the eyes, the nutrition. If they had got to first grade with without detecting any of that, without having any of the background from families, think about how they would have started off. So I just feel that sometimes that we're looking at the wrong end of the stick. The Head Start program not only makes them possible for children to thrive, we see them able to thrive and read. We see parents who go into the school system and advocate for their children because that was what they did in Head Start. The other part of it is, and it's a little segue, but I've always felt very strongly about it, Head Start has always been a career ladder. Parents who volunteer in the classrooms oftentimes may be on assistance, and they end up taking a couple of courses. They're assistant teacher. We have parents who've started a ladder. Our managers of Head Start have moved on, got their baccalaureate. We offer an associate degree. The career ladder for the moms and dads has been extraordinary over the years, getting them into education, getting them to work with their children, being an early child. And we've made a career. I think it's important. We collectively, all of us, have raised early childhood to a career. It's not babysitting. And we've also made it possible for the providers of that to get through and take care of their own children in their communities. And I'm very proud of that. You look at the people who work in Head Start, just in our program, where did they start from? Some started off of welfare, some started unemployed. They come in and volunteered. Before they know it, they liked it. They stayed in the classrooms, and they moved up. And today is Tuesday. Sunday, we graduated 163 from the Urban College of Boston. We started with an associate's degree in early childhood. And they all work in places like ABCD and other places, taking care of our children. That's a great, great story that's never told properly.
Yvette, what about you? I mean, you started as one of the educators. You moved up. So did this change the goals that you set for yourself?
Oh, most definitely. And I started as an educator because I was concerned about what is happening to our society. And I want to be a family therapist. Then I changed and I said, we need to start with the young children, because I'm glad that these days everybody's talking about the importance of early education, and that's the moment, that's the time, those are the children that needs to be taken care. So that changed my whole professional life, because I definitely believe that we need to invest in this early age, because at the end the return of investment is higher, because then we do prevention rather than treatment.
John, one thing I do remember more than one occasion over these 50 years is trying to push for more support for this program. Mm-hmm. How do things look now?
Well, it's hard to give you a glib answer, because every once in a while, some people down in Washington decide they want to pull a plug on everything. What we have done, I think, is establish a standard for early childhood, which everybody talks about having universal childhood, and we're the standard for it. So through all of the rough passes, and there's been a lot of rough paths, I've been with you, Head Start made it. We haven't had the kind of money I would like them to add to it so we can expand, but they've made it. And we are now opening another Head Start in Malden, Medford, and Everett. We're working to bring in enriched services there. We're not standing still. And I think that we're going to keep pushing that envelope, because I think it's important, even though it's a, quote, low-income program, that is, people have to meet a low-income standard to participate, it is really the standard for early childhood that I think is important.
Yvette, we just have a little time here, but with this 50th anniversary coming up, what are you going to do to celebrate?
So, first of all, we just did a parent recognition breakfast, because parent volunteer, like John says, and we are very proud to say that we have over 3,000 parents volunteer throughout, parents, grandparents, and family volunteer, and that makes a big difference. And on June 9, next Tuesday, at the Boston Common, we're going to have an end of the year celebration and resource fair. And we're going to bring everybody together, all the children, our 2,300 children together, and community organization to support parents and provide services and outreach. And then on November, in our community award dinner, we're going to recognize and Head Start among some other activities and lectures that we are doing. So we are celebrating 50 years of opportunity, looking forward for another 50 years or more opportunity, because we're going to continue having children that need these services. And we alone cannot do it. We need the community at large to come and support, because that was a vision of President Lyndon B. Johnson and when he created Head Start.
Thank you both very much, Yvette Rodriguez and John Drew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From ABCD. We'll have more news in just a moment.